Today we discuss long length partials. A lot of controversy, but most studies show that they do work for building size in the muscle. A lot of different theories as to why they work. The main thing is that you're trying to keep constant tension in the muscle the whole time, working through that range where you'd never let the tension come off the muscle. So what we're going to do is, first up, we're going to show goblet squats. You're going to go down to a full stretch as long as you're keeping the neutral spine. And then you're coming up. As soon as you start to feel the force leave the muscle, that's when you reverse it. So usually you're trying for 15 reps. That'll determine your weight. Next up, we'll do the leg press. When you're working with machines, you're limited by the machine itself. So the stretch portion may be a little less than your normal stretch sometimes. And then the contracted portion may be, somewhere varied to where you feel the force leave. So here we are with the leg press coming back into a stretch. I'm going up until I feel the force start to leave. As soon as I feel it start to leave, I reverse the motion. Now we have Nordic Leg Extensions. I'm using a band here so I can get a really good stretch.
Action.
Go down till you feel the stretch. Come up. As soon as you start to feel the stretch leave, you go back. It's not a huge range of motion on here, but the stretch is very intense. And when you get to the point where you can go to the floor, which I'm not at yet, then it'll be the most intense stretch and you'll work the maximum amount of muscle. Now for the RDL, you go down to the stretch and come up to where you feel the stretch start to leave. You may need to stand on an elevation. I'm going down, I'm feeling a stretch right before the barbell plates hit the floor, and I'm coming up just past the knee. That's where I start to feel the force leave the hamstrings. So trying for 15 reps of this is a very good number. For the Nordic Ham Curl, the stretch is going to be at the bottom. You're limited by the bench. Then the top, you just stop where you feel the force leaving. So here we go with that. I'm using a band to assist. Going down till I feel the stretch, coming up till I feel the force start to leave, and then reversing it. Constant tension is the key on these. When you feel the tension leaving, that's when you reverse the direction. So the strength curve on all these is slightly different, but the bottom line is it works. Okay, lying leg curl. I have a pad under my thighs, even though you can't tell, to increase the stretch. Come up to where I feel like the force is leaving and I reverse it. So when you're working on a machine here, you're limited by the machine. You may be able to manipulate something like I did with the pad to get more of a stretch, but you are limited by the machine itself. So some machines are more conducive to the stretch than others. Okay, with chest presses here, you want to angle the dumbbells so that you can get a good stretch without it hitting your shoulders.
Action.
So you come back, angle them so they're not hitting the shoulders to stop the stretch. And then come up to where you feel the force start to leave the muscle, reverse it. Once again, trying for about 15 of these to see how it goes. Incline press, once again playing with the angle and coming up to where the force starts to leave. So I rock back, get the bells where they're not touching the shoulders. So I'm still getting a good stretch, coming up to where I feel the force start to leave, reverse it, and go to town on these, trying for 15. When you get 15, that's a good signal for the weight to move up. Okay, some people program long length partials for a period of time, X amount of time. I like to do them as a follow-up after doing my full range sets. So here we go with an incline dumbbell fly.
Action.
So you kick back, let your arms stretch out. There's a little bit of bend in the elbow, and you're just flying up until you feel the force start to leave. And going to town with this one, Really feeling the stretch in the chest. You want to really be careful because of the leverage on this. The thing about long length partials is you look like you're cheating. Here I am doing pull-ups. So I stretch, I go just to the point up where I feel the force start to leave, come down and emphasize the stretch. Once again, trying for about 15 reps of these. If I make 15, I'm done. Okay, doing seated high row here, getting that stretch position, pulling down to where the elbows are almost at my ribs. Really trying to flex my middle trapezius. Getting that good burn in there. And like I say, the way I do it is I make sure I've already done my full range sets. Okay, starting from a slightly forward bend at the hips, getting the stretch, pull back to where the biceps and elbows are in line with your ribs. That's where I feel the force start to leave on this. That may vary from person to person depending on your body structure. So trying to really feel it, making sure I'm pulling with my lats. Dumbbell overhead press, I've got the bells turned so they aren't hitting my shoulders, going up to where I feel the force start to leave. So this is a really good one. I like to do them seated so I can really get the isolation going there. So I've already done my heavier sets. And there you go. Smith machine overhead press. I set the bench to where I can get a stretch at the bottom, and then I push up to where I feel the force start to leave once again. So it's a matter of working with the limits of the machine and just getting your bench adjusted back just far enough to where you're feeling the stretch in the front delt. Also, you're going to feel a little bit in the pec minor, and that's fine. That's perfectly fine. Okay, cross cable rear delt fly. Trying to get that stretch, coming back to where you feel the contraction start to leave. Okay. Really trying to make sure I'm using my rear and lateral delt, mainly my rear. Not to mention my rhomboids. Those are working pretty hard on here, along with my trapezius. Incline dumbbell curl. Get your stretch, come up to where you start to feel the force leave, and reverse it. Make sure you really emphasize the stretch on this. Let gravity work for you. So use the pain, use the stretch. You're gonna feel this really good in your biceps. Okay, the cable Pelican curl. You're putting your arms in shoulder extension so that your front delt is trying to use the flexion part of the curl for your bicep, because part of your bicep function is to help with shoulder flexion. So this is a really good one, and it will light up your biceps. You will get a tremendous stretch in this. Okay, here we are with tricep extension. Make sure you get a good stretch, and then come up to where you feel the force start to leave and reverse it. This one you can really emphasize the stretch. Just keep your lats flexed so you're not damaging your shoulders on this. You want to make sure you're feeling it all in the triceps. Good stretch, good contraction. Okay, the Tricep Dip machine will limit you on your stretch, but you should be able to get a really good contraction on this. So I like to use fat grips around the handles just to make it easy on my palms of my hands, so the bar's not cutting into me, causing a bunch of pain to stop me.